Hello everybody, my name is Offbeat Outlaw. Today I always screw this up. What's wrong with me? On today's episode of Power Building, I have created something positively evil. I have discovered the way to do the most damage possible with attacks in Dungeons and Dragons. At least I think. There might be ways to do this, might be ways to do more damage, but as far as I can tell, this is it. You certainly don't need any more firepower than I'm about to show you. And before any of you smart Alex head into the comment section, no, this is not that stupid thing you can do where you get the fire elemental, dump a bunch of dust of dryness on it, and then hit it with a tsunami, okay? First of all, it only has 78 hit points, so screw off. That is overkill beyond overkill. This can be used on any creature whatsoever. Now, if that sounds tasty, let's get into the build. How does this work? First of all, this isn't your regular build video with Offbeat Outlaw. This is going to be a team build. In order to pull this off successfully, you are going to need about 6 people to do this in total. 1 person to be the damage dealer. Going to need a high-level wizard, a high-level cleric, a high-level sorcerer, a high-level bard, and a high-level cleric or druid. And you're going to need this character build. So let's get into it. What are we gonna call this character? Let's call him Kaboom, because that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna blow up and then act like he don't know nobody. What else is this character going to do? This is going to be a very similar build to my previous high damage build with a few alterations. And also I'm going to explain a ruling that I've since changed my opinion on. But this is going to be an 8th-level Blade Singer, 2nd level Paladin, 3rd level Gloom Stalker, 2nd level Fighter, 5th level Hexblade. Yeah, that works for me. Look how tiny that writing is. Holy crap. Yeah, so I've swapped out some of the levels that I used to have for a save for Assassin, and I've instead placed them into Hexblade Warlock. This is because you can increase your damage with an Eldritch Smite at the end of the day, and potentially so you can use some of the slots for a smite. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Our race, we always do variant human, but this would technically also work with a custom lineage from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Background, not important. Alignment, who gives a shit? Alignment is dangerous. That's his alignment. Yeah, that works for me. There are a few required stats that we need, obviously. We're going to need a 13 in strength, a 13 in charisma, a 13 in intelligence, and a 13 in dexterity, and a 13 in wisdom. That's 5 out of the essential stats that 5 out of the stats that we need to at least be a 13. So, and we're using point buy, so this is going to require some hardcore math. Not really, just kind of. So we're starting off with a 13 in strength. These are all available from point buy. We're going to be taking a 12 in dexterity, an 8 in constitution. Didn't say this one was thick, okay? We're going to be taking a 13 in intelligence, a 12 in wisdom, and a 15 in charisma. And then after we apply the variant human buffs, we are going to be bumping this to a 13 in dexterity and a 13 in wisdom, giving us the grand total of all the stat requirements we need in order to be the class we want to play. Isn't that great? Now that we are a variant human, we're going to be taking the delightful feat of Meta Magic Adept. This will all be explained in due time. So how about you chill the fuck out? In total, this build gives us a grand total of 3 ASIs. 2 from the wizard, and then 1 from being a Hexblade Warlock. We're going to be putting 2 of those into charisma in order to give us a 19. You could also technically give yourself an 18 in charisma and then a 14 in something else. Let's just do that. Let's just jump into it. Let's give ourselves a 14 in wisdom as well, you know, so we get the Gloom Stalker addition to our initiative. But now that we have our charisma bumped up to 18, we now technically have a +4 in the overall damage department. So we're going to be spending 2 of those ASIs on the charisma, and then the other one we're going to be giving to ourselves as Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master will allow us to add a +10 bonus to every single one of our damage rolls, provided that we take a -5 to our attack rolls. Isn't that just tasty? Now, as you can probably tell, I'm skipping over a lot of shit here because we got a lot to get through today. So please bear with me as I get through all of this. So, how do we do damage with this build? Well, first of all, someone's casting haste on us, okay? Someone is going to be casting haste on us. It's just how it's going to go down. Whether that be the sorcerer or the bard, they're going to be spending their time casting haste on us to give us an extra weapon attack. at the end of all this. But we're going to get to that eventually. First thing you're going to be doing is you are a blade singer. With your extra attack feature, you get to make a weapon attack plus, ding, 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 a cantrip. We are going to be using a weapon attack and then the cantrip booming blade, both of which are going to have smite on top of them. On top of this, when you take the attack action on your turn, with addition to the Gloomstalker feat, when you take the attack action on your turn, and as long as it's the first turn, you get to make one more weapon attack on top of this that has an extra d8 of damage. So if you're keeping track, that is three melee weapon attacks in this first turn. On to the bonuses. We're going to be using a great axe. Now you might be saying, how are we using a great axe if we are a Hexblade Warlock? If you take Pact of the Blade and Hexblade Warlock, any weapon you conjure gets the benefit of being a Hexblade Warlock. We're going to be using our charisma for all of these attack rolls as well, and for all of our damage bonuses. Now that we know that we're using a great axe, our damage dice are d12s. So we are going to be having 3d12s, plus, this is the booming blade damage, 3d8, and plus 1d8 from the Gloomstalker, and then plus 15d8 from all of our smites. We are a 10th level spellcaster, meaning that we have... What up guys, Editor Outlaw here. So I actually made a mistake in this video in the calculations. Let me quickly explain. In the video, I correctly state that this character is a 10th level spellcaster, but I, for some reason, do my calculations as if they're an 11th level spellcaster and therefore have one more spell slot available than they should. So I redid the calculations afterwards and I discovered that the difference in damage is only a single d8, which after all the bonuses, which you'll see later, works out to roughly only like 20 extra damage. And with the amount of damage we're doing, it's not really that important. So the numbers that I'm saying for the smite damage only is off by a single d8. So just keep that in mind. I will have the correct calculations and equations shown on the screen, but what I'm saying is off by a little bit. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Bye. While the Paladin Divine Smite feature states that the maximum amount of damage you can deal is 5d8 with a 4th level spell slot, this does not mean you can't expend higher level spell slots to do the same amount of damage, which is what we are currently taking advantage of. This is already a metric crap load of damage, all things considered. This is already 101 damage potentially. And this is the first attack. This is before modifiers, by the way. Modifiers will be added at the end. It's a ridiculous number. So, with that being said, we now are going to be using our 2nd level fighter ability. Let's just recap quickly. We got the Blade Singer, extra attack. We are using Divine Smite, Gloomstalker's Dread Ambusher, and now we're going to be adding the next feature, Action Surge. How this is going to work out is we do everything we just did, but again. Basically, double the damage dice. 6d12 plus 2d8 plus 6d8 plus 30d8. With the Dread Ambusher, it states that when you take the attack action on your first turn, you may make an additional weapon attack. Meaning we have just done 6 attacks in a single turn. And we're not even halfway done. Now we're going to be using our haste attack. Now, I have since changed my opinion on this haste attack. This haste attack does not proc the Gloomstalker Dread Ambusher feature. This is because haste very specifically states that you can only make a single weapon attack as part of this extra action. While it would be really cool if we could, we can't. So, no extra fun times there. But this does not mean that we are out of fun, thank you very much. We are going to be making this extra attack, which means that we are officially making our 7th attack, 7d12, plus 2d8, plus 6d8, plus, now we add on, now we are finally starting to use our 3rd level spell slots. So this would be an extra 4d8 plus 34d8 damage. So we just did 238 damage in a single turn. This is already ridiculous. But we're not even done yet. We are still not done quite yet. With all of that being said, we are now going to use the Meta Magic Adept feature Quicken Spell. We got because, you know, we have Meta Magic Adept. We're going to proc up another Booming Blade, which is going to allow us to do 8d12 plus 2d8 plus 9d8 plus 38
8d8.
And then we're gonna Eldritch Smite on one of our previous attacks, spending one of our Warlock spell slots, plus 4d8. Now, this is already an absurd amount of damage. There is no creature, most creatures are gonna be weeping after this. But, I don't know if you remember, I said we needed a whole team for all of this. And here's why. So, this is our base formula. 8d12 plus 2d8 plus 9d8 plus 37d8 plus 4d8. And I've broken it apart like that so that you guys can follow along. Next thing we're going to be doing, this is where you're going to need a high-level artificer. I said wizard previously, but that's only because I'm very stupid. Get a high-level artificer, and they shall now cast elemental weapon onto your sword, allowing you to do an extra 24d4 damage in this total turn. Now, there's another spell called Holy Weapon. Now, I mentioned that you need a cleric. Here's why you need a cleric. A high-level cleric can cast the spell Holy Weapon on magical weapons, which your Hexblade sword now is. Apply that to the Holy Weapon, and now you're dealing an extra 2d8 per hit. 2d8 times 8, 16d8 damage. I don't know if you can tell, but this is already getting incredibly out of hand. Throw on top of this 2 more buffs, and this is where the numbers get truly astronomical. Have a high-level sorcerer cast Hold Person or Hold Monster on your target. When this happens, the target is now considered paralyzed, meaning every attack against them is a critical hit. That means we get to double every single damage dice. So I don't know, for those who were keeping track at home, 16d12 plus 48d4, you know, from the elemental weapon, plus 32d8 from the holy weapon, plus 4d8 from the Dread Ambusher feature, plus 18d8 from the booming blades, plus 72d8 from the divine smites, plus 8d8 from the eldritch smites. Oh, and here's another feature you can add on top of this, so this might actually take 7 people to do. Have someone cast Enlarge on your character. Now what you have on top of this is you add an extra d4 of damage per hit, meaning you get to add an extra 8d4 prior to the crit and an extra 16d4 after the crit. And now, after all of this, we can finally start applying damage bonuses. So if you remember carefully, we were a Hexblade Warlock, meaning we get to add our charisma bonus to every weapon attack for the damage roll. And if you remember, on top of that, we have Great Weapon Master, meaning we get to add an extra plus 10 as provided we take a -5 to every attack roll. But our opponent is currently being held by Held Person. So on top of all of this, we get to add an extra plus 14 damage per hit. We are dealing 8 attacks. We are dealing an extra 112 damage at the end of all of this. There is still one more thing that we get to add to make this damage truly hit the stratosphere. This isn't pretty, guys. Oh boy. The final thing from the druid is the spell Contagion. Now, according to the spell's wording, as soon as they are hit with the weapon attack, you can apply the disease Flesh Rot to the opponent. And they have to make 3 con saves, otherwise they don't shake off the spell. The spell Flesh Rot means they are vulnerable to all types of damage, meaning they take double damage after the crit. You understand how much damage this is going to do? This is insane. Now, I understand that Jeremy Crawford has said in a tweet before that that's not how Contagion works, and what they intended it for it to mean is that this spell only takes effect after they fail their con saves. I would like to kindly disagree. I don't run it like that in my games, and most DMs I know don't run it like that either, because that makes the spell absolutely worthless. I think this spell works perfectly fine, and I especially like how it makes me roll big number. So now that all of that has been said and done, just to keep track of everything, you currently are a Bladesinger Paladin, Gloomstalker Fighter, Hexblade Warlock. You are being buffed by Elemental Weapon, Holy Weapon, and enlarge, reduce, and haste. And the opponent is being affected by hold person and contagion, meaning you're going to need a total of 7 people to pull off this massive amount of damage. Drum roll, please. The moment you have all been waiting for. The damage total dealt is going to be, and this is keep track, 16d12 from the Great Axe, 48d4 from the Elemental Weapon, 16d4 from Enlarge Reduce, 32d8 from Holy Weapon, 4d8 from the Gloomstalker feat, from the Gloomstalker Dread Ambusher attacks, 18d8 from the Booming Blades, 72d8 from the Divine Smites, 8d8 from the Eldritch Smite, plus 112 damage from Great Weapon Master and your Charisma bonus. All of this times 2, dealing a combined total of, drumroll please, 1,956 damage. Nearly 2,000 damage. 2,000. 2,000. What? What? I'm doing that again. Can it get above 2,000 or is it like stuck around there? That time it did only 18,888. Only 1,888 damage. And once more, 1,972 damage. Holy. What? I don't care what the hell you're facing. Whatever you just hit is dead, and anything within 1,000 feet is dead. That's not the nuclear paladin. This is the nuclear fallout paladin. This is the supernova paladin. This is the galactic conquest paladin. You can kill a Tarask 3 times over. 3! I guess with a team of 7 that makes sense, but holy crap, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. Anyway. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, I should give this a score. So my score of would I try this in a one-shot? No. No, I wouldn't. This is way too hard to pull off, way too convoluted. So not necessary. So not necessary. You don't need that much damage. What do you need it for? Would you like to kill the Tarask, kill its corpse, go to the afterlife, kill its soul, and then go and kill its family while you're at it in one turn? Is that what you want to do? It's unnecessary. I rate it a 0 out of 10 would I use it. And should you use it? Maybe 1 out of 10. I just want to know what a DM would say after you rolled an entire warehouse's worth of dice. And then you just looked at them and said, I counted it all up and said 1,988 damage, please. It's so not necessary. Holy crap. Well, that's today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends, just to show them what you can do with Dungeons and Dragons. Scare your DM, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much. If you would like to see this build yourself, if you would like to see the build for at least the damage dealer, you can find it on my Patreon. I post every single build onto my Patreon after at least a few days, at least the day of or a few days after I'm done finishing the video. So anyway, I hope you all really enjoy this video. Get the fuck out of my house.